I'm going to talk about something here I don't believe that the average person is aware of at all. That is jamming ability created by the bolt when you open the bolt on a bolt action. Jamming ability is the amount of jam back by the bolt when you lift the bolt handle. This action is closed. You open the bolt handle, bolts cam back. You see this space here, the space right here between the bolt and the action? That's the actual cam back of the bolt. This happens to be a bat machine CT action for a 375 Chi-Tech. Single shot action, right hand bolt, left hand port, Picatinny rail with built-in, elevation ability, and this is absolutely a first-class setup. This action has a reasonable amount of cam back ability. Early on in my hunting life, I picked up a pre-64 Winchester Model 70 and 300 H&H and a 98 Mauser in 6mm Remington. Now those two particular actions have the longest cam back ability. You open the bolt. Now what's this cam back as far as an advantage? It's partly to do with an extraction ability. Bolt cams further back, pulls the case further out of the chamber. Mauser, the pre-64, have a considerable cam back about 165 thousandths. This particular action cams back about 140 thousandths. So one of the shorter cam back type of an action is a Remington 700. It's got somewhat of a poor cam, maybe one of the poorest cams. The actual cam itself is a poor cam as far as I'm concerned. I felt for years that the actual cam on the bolt is in the wrong position in relationship to the cam on the action. If you look at these things, it got somewhat of a step to it right here. You see this right here? That's the actual cam right there on the action. Now, the Weatherby Mark V has one of the very shortest cams. The amount that it cams back. It only cams back about a 1/16 of an inch. Remington's about a little less than 100 thousandths. There's a lot of actions that are only right around 100 thousandths. And this is an important situation as far as I'm concerned in a rifle. Some of the rifles that I build a considerable number of rifles off of a Borden custom action. That's got a very good cam on that. That's a bit longer cam. That cam is around 140 thousandths. Jim Borden obviously knew what he was doing when he designed that action with that longer cam to be able to open up. The bolt just simply opens up smoother, pulls the case back out of the chamber further, gives you an advantage, especially, people that are loading to up to full maximum working pressures, not over maximum, talking about just maximum working pressures. Because the case sets up, especially after it's been fired several times, brass takes a bit of a set in itself, and it becomes a little bit tougher to be able to open these actions when that's the case. And I feel that all the actions, there's no reason why pretty much all the actions can't have somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 thousandths, maybe plus, in cam back ability. You know, Winchester Model 70 has, you know, up there around 3/16 of an inch of cam back. And the Mauser is about 165, 170 thousandths cam back. And there was a fellow that wrote a book on this situation many years ago. The book was published by Wolf Publishing in Arizona. The man's name was Stuart Odinson, and he wrote a book on all actions that he could get his hands on at the time on the cam back ability of all these various actions. It's a very, very interesting book. It's a very interesting read. I don't know whether you can still get that from Wolf or not. Maybe, perhaps you can. But anyway, to us gunsmiths, us gun makers, us real gun people, these are things to consider, things that are important. You know, if you've ever used a pre-64 Winchester Model 70 to any extent, and the Remington 700, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That Winchester Model 70 just opens up. It opens up like it's supposed to. The cam is considerably long. The angle of it and everything else is just absolutely ideal. And when you open a Remington that's loaded up to full maximum working pressures, a lot of them want to have kind of a catch. And you got to kind of pull on the bolt a little bit, or you reef on that bolt handle just a little bit, you know, to open up that action. That's never been the case, never will be the case with the Winchester Model 70 because of the design of the cam. This is an ideal, the absolute ideal situation. And there could be numerous situations, hunting situations and one thing another, weather situations, where this can be an advantage to you. Whether it was in considerable cold or considerable warmth, all these things can, times, depending on other circumstances, underlying circumstances involved with the open of the bolt. And the other aspect that comes into play with all this is the actual diameter of the rim, the diameter of the case head, the diameter of the rim. And also, you know, it's related to the actual internal diameter of the case capacity down in the bottom. This is described as bolt thrust. And 222 Remington case is 375 in diameter at the rim. It's considerably smaller than that. The internal capacity of the case, that has a very small amount of bolt thrust. You can load a 222 Remington at considerable velocity because there's very little bolt thrust. Bolt thrust is the actual contact. You see, the diameter of the contact in relationship to the action and the ability for that bolt to open up. It'll always open up easy. As you increase the diameters, go to 30-06 size, go from there to magnum size, our H&H type magnum size, or from there to 338 size, or maybe something even bigger, 416 size, you know, the 375 and the 408 Chi-Tac. These have very large internal capacity. So this requires a fairly large locking lug to take care of this considerable amount of bolt thrust. And there's formulas in Odison's book to figure out the actual bolt thrust of these various cartridges in relationship to the diameters. And this is important. You know, a 222 case loaded to around 65,000 pounds pressure, a 30-06 case loaded to the same, and a 300 H&H case loaded to the same, there's going to be a little bit more resistance on that larger diameter case. We go up in diameters, this thrust increases considerably and becomes resistance to open the bolt. So this is partly where this cam back ability comes into play, is because of the actual bolt thrust. I'm explaining to you that it's not the same on the small 222 case as it is on, we'll go to the other side of things, clear up to, you know, a 375 ShyTac case. That's got a very large internal capacity and area. It's figured on cross-sectional area, you see, and you can come up with, there's formulas there, as I say, to figure these things out. I don't have these things in front of me, but I had the loan of a book at one time to be able to read about all these things, and I was aware of some of these things before I read the book. I was very aware when I first started using a good bolt action rifle and saw others that there was advantages. I could just see it. It was plain as day to me, just as a young teenage boy, that these various different types of actions simply opened up better than others did because of the camming ability, because of the design of the action. And anyway, this is something that I feel, has always been to advantage, will always be to an advantage. Got a lot of rifles on the market this day and age from all sorts of manufacturers, from all sorts of different countries, different countries, and most all these have a very short, about a 1/16 cam ability, which that's not very good at all, and it's a little bit tougher. And there's a lot of actions made that only have 2 lugs, and we've got actions made that have 3 rows of lugs, you see, and we have a shorter bolt lift, a 90-degree bolt lift compared to, say, a 60-degree bolt lift, or maybe perhaps about a 54-degree bolt lift, just because the way that everything's arranged to do with the action. And comes just a little bit more, there's a little bit more leverage that's applied to open some of these actions that have got 3 lugs instead of 2. There have been a few actions made that have actually 4 lugs, or maybe actually 4 rows of lugs, and there's actually 2 in each row. And got the Weatherby action, that's got 3 rows, but there's actually 3 lugs in each row, and we've got 9 locking lugs, and we don't have to open very far for that to clear, and so forth. And the Weatherby Mark V action is a very, very good action. It's a very strong action, and it will serve you well. It has for many, many years, and will continue to. But anyway, that's something. This has been something that I've wanted to touch on many times, but I never got around to it. But if you have further interest, pursue it and see if you can come up with that book, either from a library or perhaps, get it from Wolf Publishing Company.
Is that gonna be a Patreon?